This devastating impact of the house fires that erupted in Detroit on Tuesday is the result of budget-cutting policies of the Bing administration and previous administrations. Also complicit is energy giant DTE, which has neglected basic infrastructure while focusing all of its energies on ruthlessly cutting off Detroit citizens from gas and electricity. CAUS rejects the claim by Bing that this is a natural disaster that no one could have predicted, a claim that is aimed at diverting attention from those who are truly responsible. Bing sat on the board of directors of DTE for 20 years, from 1985 to 2005. Shirley Hargrave, who lives here on Robinwood Street, says that she tried desperately to have DTE come and fix the problem with her electricity beginning last Friday, September 3rd. Her lights were on and off the entire Labor Day weekend, but she could not get any assistance. Family members called again and again, and on Tuesday, they were told that if they kept calling, they would be charged for a repair visit by DTE. Later in the afternoon, the power line snapped, causing the garage to catch on fire. The fire spread quickly to the other houses on the block, which is a devastation that you can see behind me. By DTE's own account, there were 750 lines that went down on Tuesday evening. Despite this admission, DTE seeks to shift the blame, arguing that it was energy theft that is the cause of these fires.
The fires that ravaged sections of Detroit on Tuesday are one tragic consequence of the subordination of the needs of working people to a handful of politically connected giant corporations, including DTE. In this year's first 2 quarters, DTE pulled in $315 million on top of $532 million in 2009. In April, the company announced cuts of $130 million in 2009 and is seeking $60 million this year. A large portion of these cuts come from utility operations and maintenance. As it was said, DTE has laid off linemen and contractors who trim trees near the lines. This has resulted in a shortage of workers to respond to the storm-related damage and a general decline in the maintenance of the aging electrical infrastructure. Who benefits from these policies? DTE's executives and investors. Last year, DTE CEO Anthony Early took home $9.2 million, adding to his combined pay of $11.4 million in 2007 and in 2008. DTE's relentless drive for profit has led to the deaths of many Detroit residents. It has also contributed to the death of 2 utility workers from electrocution in the past 4 months. Now, this same profit drive has led to a spat of fires across the city. DTE is able to get away with these actions thanks to its connections with the political establishment.
Had DTE come out and take care of this line, this fire would not have happened. But we also know that 750 lines went down throughout the city, so that means that there's a serious problem here that's not being addressed. We have decaying infrastructure. Nothing is really being done to make sure that the areas are actually safe. We know that as D'Artagnan explained earlier, a second utility worker died this year. In fact, died on the same street that Elizabeth lives on the near west side. This is a massive issue that's not being addressed. The main thing for DTE is how can it maximize its profits, not how it's going to make the area safe. There is suspicion that the infrastructure is not being maintained because they want to just shut it down. One woman asked us, are they going to just let us burn out of here? Is that the idea? And there's just enormous anger about the social conditions. Maybe Dr. Booker can explain herself what she thinks, but she lives here on the block.
I just probably want to say that I no longer live on the block, but I own one of the houses here. My home was down the street. But I did call back some time ago to DTE regarding the lines that was going through the trees. And they cut a few branches, and they told me that the lines were phone lines. I said, all these lines are phone lines? And they said yes, and that they could not cut the limbs away from the tree. So that's how it was basically left on that particular issue on that. But the overhaul of everything is that this is like a high-risk area. The attention has not been brought to this area. I lived over here, raised my daughter up on this. It was a decent block. The homes, was flourishing at one time. It's not the best neighborhood, but it was a decent. The people cut the grass and they was living there. And as time went on, like he was saying, layoffs, drugs.
Yes, my name is Valeria McKinstry, and I live on the end, on the very last house on this side of Robinwood.
Anything happen to your house?
No, did nothing happen to my house, but no more than the flickering of the power, losing power constantly. We have called through the neighborhood, have called DT Energy on many occasions to correct the problem for the loss of power constantly, and we get no results. At the point, it has come to the point in this community that we as the community has to take it upon our own because DTE did not and would not respond to our numerous calls.
Involved is not just the action of one company and these individual politicians. It is not just about Detroit or Michigan. The horrific fire that engulfed a neighborhood in Northern California last night, the result of a burst pipeline, demonstrates that these are the issues that confront all working people. To address this social crisis in Detroit, CAUS and the Socialist Equality Party called for an emergency public works program to rebuild infrastructure in neighborhoods while providing good-paying jobs for all who can work. Those whose homes have been destroyed must be made whole. The funds for such a program must be made available through the transformation of DTE and other giant corporations into publicly owned enterprises, democratically controlled by the working people. This will at the same time be the basis for a rational program to modernize electrical infrastructure and ensure that basic services such as gas, electricity, and water are provided to all hope as a human basic right. Thank you.
CAUS insists that if there is to be a serious investigation into these causes of fires, it cannot be carried out by Bing or by DTE. We call for an independent inquiry of Detroit area citizens to investigate the fires and determine who is responsible. If you want to fight the cuts in the utility service, we are urging all Detroit area residents to join the Committee Against Utility Shutoffs.